Have you ever noticed how tightly we hold on to things, as if they could slip away the moment we loosen our grip? The house we bought, the job we worked so hard for, the photos we keep on our phone, even our own name, our story, our identity. We say, "This is mine. This is who I am." But here comes the paradox. The very thing we believe defines us isn't truly ours at all. Think about it. The money in your account can vanish overnight. The body you love or sometimes struggle with, it changes with every passing year. Even the memories you treasure most, they fade, no matter how tightly you try to hold on to them. It's unsettling, isn't it? We spend our whole lives building, collecting, protecting. Yet the Buddha once pointed to a truth most of us spend our lives avoiding. Nothing actually belongs to us. Not the past, not the future, not even this very breath we're taking right now. Now, I know that might sound frightening at first. If nothing is truly ours, does that mean we've been living a lie? Does that mean loss is all there is? But here's the twist, and this is where the story gets beautiful. Realizing that nothing belongs to us isn't the end of joy. It's the beginning of a deeper kind of freedom. A freedom from fear. A freedom from the endless anxiety of, what if I lose this? What if it's taken away? Imagine what it would feel like to live without that constant tightness in your chest. To love someone without the shadow of clinging, to enjoy life not because you control it, but because you can finally let it flow. That's what we're stepping into today. A journey not of losing, but of opening. And if you stay with me, you'll see how this strange, almost shocking truth that nothing belongs to us can become the key to living with more peace, more love, and more presence than you ever thought possible. So let me ask you this. Are you ready to see what letting go can really give you? Part 1. The illusion of ownership. Let me ask you something. If your body truly belonged to you, wouldn't you be able to tell it what to do? Think about it. You'd command, stay young, don't get sick, heal instantly. And yet, no matter how much you beg, the body does its own thing. Wrinkles appear. Energy fades. Sometimes pain knocks on the door without even asking your permission. It's unsettling, right? Because we grow up believing this body is ours. We decorate it, feed it, protect it. But deep down, we all discover the same truth. It doesn't listen the way something you own should. And the mind? Oh, the mind is even trickier. Have you ever tried to stop a thought from coming? You sit there telling yourself, don't think about it. Don't worry. Let it go. But the thought keeps returning, louder, each time, like a stubborn song, stuck in your head. If the mind really belonged to you, shouldn't you be able to control it like a switch on and off? This is the illusion of ownership. We assume, this is my body, these are my thoughts, this is me. But when we look closely, it's not so simple. The body ages without consent. The mind wanders without approval. And suddenly, the question arises, if I can't fully own my body or my mind, what do I actually own? I'll tell you a quick story. A friend of mine, years ago, was the kind of person who planned everything. Strict diet, gym every morning at 5 a.m., meditation at night. He believed discipline could give him control. But then life threw a curveball. He got diagnosed with a rare illness. Out of nowhere, his carefully managed body betrayed him. And what broke him most wasn't just the pain, it was the realization that his own body had never really been his in the first place. That shook me, because it made me ask, How much of what I call mine is just a temporary loan from the universe? Now, here's where it gets interesting. Neuroscience today confirms what the Buddha taught centuries ago. Your brain produces thoughts automatically billions every day. They rise and fall like waves, and you don't control most of them. You only notice them after they appear. In other words, you're not the master, you're more like the witness. So, what does that mean for us? It means clinging to ownership of body, of mind is a recipe for suffering. Because no matter how tight we hold on, life keeps reminding us nothing was truly ours to begin with. And maybe that's why we feel so anxious, so restless. We're fighting against the truth. We shout, "Mine," at something that was never ours. But here's the twist. Recognizing this isn't depressing. It's liberating. Because the moment you see the illusion, you begin to loosen your grip. You stop trying to control the uncontrollable. And in that space, something amazing happens. Peace begins to grow. So let me ask you, if you can't fully own your body, if you can't even own your thoughts, then what can you truly call yours? Comment below with the word witness if this question hit you, because in the next part, we'll uncover something even deeper. Why? The tighter we hold on, the more pain we create. Part 2. The more we cling, the more we suffer. Let me share a secret we don't like to admit. Most of us confuse clinging with love. We think, if I hold on tighter, it means I care more. If I control every detail, I'll feel safe. But in reality, the tighter we grip, the more fragile we feel. Have you ever noticed this? You buy something new, a watch, a phone, maybe even just a favorite pen. At first, it's pure joy, but almost instantly, a shadow appears. You start worrying. What if I scratch it? What if I lose it? What if someone takes it? The happiness of owning turns into the fear of losing. And it doesn't stop with objects. It runs even deeper in relationships. Think of someone you love. Maybe your partner, your child, your closest friend. The mind whispers, I need them. I can't let go. They must stay. And suddenly, love shifts into possession. The heart squeezes too tightly. Every text not answered, every distance, every silence becomes a storm of anxiety. I remember a friend who once told me, "The more I love my daughter, the more terrified I am. Something will happen to her." And I understood. Because that's what clinging does. It tricks us into thinking fear is part of love. But love doesn't need chains. Love is strongest when it's free. Now here's where it gets interesting. Buddha taught that clinging is the root of suffering. Not because things are bad, not because relationships are wrong, but because nothing in this life is permanent. Everything changes. The watch will scratch. The pen will get lost. The people we love will grow, change, or someday leave. Clinging is like holding sand in your fist. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers. And science today says something similar. Psychologists have found that people who struggle most with anxiety often have one thing in common: an excessive need for control. The more they try to control life, the more life overwhelms them. It's like trying to hold back the ocean with a bucket. So let me ask you, what in your life are you holding too tightly right now? Is it a relationship you're afraid of losing? A job you think defines your worth? Maybe an old story from the past that you can't let go of? Because here's the paradox. The moment you loosen your grip, the fear starts to dissolve. You begin to see love, not as possession, but as presence. You start to enjoy your watch, your pen, your relationships, not because they'll last forever, but because you can truly appreciate them while they're here. For me, this was life-changing. I used to think safety came from control, but slowly, I realized safety comes from trust. Trust in the flow of life. Trust that even when things change, I'll still be okay. So maybe the real act of love is not to cling tighter, but to open the hand gently and let life breathe. If this speaks to you, drop a number 2 in the comments. Like a reminder, clinging creates suffering. And keep watching, because in the next part, we'll explore something even deeper. How letting go doesn't mean losing it. Might actually be the beginning of true freedom. Part 3. The cost of attachment. Here's something that might surprise you. Science has discovered that the pain of loss, the heartbreak, the grief, even losing a small object, lights up the brain in the same way as physical pain. In other words, when you lose something you've been clinging to, your brain reacts as if you were literally being cut, burned, or hit. That's how powerful attachment is. Think about that for a second. It doesn't even have to be something valuable. Ever misplaced your keys or lost a cheap pen that you really liked? Suddenly your chest tightens, frustration rises, maybe even anger. Not because the object is precious in itself, but because in your mind, you had already made it yours. You had tied it to your sense of identity. And this is the hidden cost of clinging. We don't just lose an item, or a relationship, or a moment. We lose a piece of ourselves. At least, that's what the mind makes us believe. So instead of feeling free, we feel wounded. Instead of flowing with life, we feel broken every time life takes something away. I once knew a man who lost his job after 20 years. He told me, "I feel like I don't even know who I am anymore." And I could see it. His whole sense of worth had been wrapped around that title, that company badge, that office desk. Without it, he felt hollow, as if a part of his soul had been stolen. But the truth was, he hadn't lost himself. He had only lost an identity he clung to. Have you ever felt that way? Like a breakup wasn't just the end of a relationship, it felt like the end of you. Or when a possession was damaged, and it felt like your pride, your value, was damaged too. That's the trap. We merge our sense of self with things that were never really ours to begin with. Buddha compared this to carrying a burning torch against the wind. The tighter you hold, the more it burns you. The more we cling, the more pain we guarantee for ourselves. And the cost is heavier than we think. Not just stress, not just sadness. Long-term attachment can trigger chronic anxiety, even depression. Neuroscientists have found that people who can't let go, whether of objects, past mistakes, or relationships, actually show stronger activation in the brain's pain centers. They live in a state of constant, subtle suffering. But here's the question I want to ask you. If every possession, every role, every person we meet is destined to change, is destined to leave one day, then why do we insist on building our entire identity around them? I'll tell you why. Because deep down, we crave security. We want something that never changes, something we can count on. But life isn't built that way. And the more we try to force permanence onto impermanence, the more we suffer. For me, realizing this was a turning point. I once lost a box of old letters, memories from years of my life. At first, I was devastated. It felt like losing a part of who I was. But slowly, I began to see those memories weren't gone. They had shaped me. They were already inside me. The letters were just paper. What mattered had never left. So maybe the real freedom is not in protecting everything we own, but in understanding that who we are doesn't depend on what we cling to. If this resonates with you, drop a number 3 in the comments. Like a reminder, attachment always comes with a cost. And keep watching, because in the next part, we'll talk about the unexpected gift that comes when we learn to let go. Part 4. Stories that wake us up. Let me tell you a story. There was once a powerful king who believed, truly believed, that everything within his kingdom was his. The land, the rivers, the forests, even the people. He thought, I own it all. But one day, as he walked barefoot along the palace garden, a single grain of sand got stuck in his foot. It was tiny, almost invisible, yet the pain made him stop in his tracks. And in that moment, he realized, if even one grain of sand could resist his control, how could he ever claim ownership of the whole world? Isn't that fascinating? A man with soldiers, armies, and wealth beyond measure was humbled by something as small as dust. That little sting in his foot was life's way of whispering, nothing is truly yours. And here's another story. A merchant fabulously wealthy filled his home with gold, gems, and treasures collected from every corner of the world. At first, he thought he was rich, but over time, he couldn't sleep at night. Every creak in the floor, every howl of the wind, he thought it was a thief coming for his fortune. His chest was heavy, his mind restless. The irony? He had more riches than anyone else, yet he was poorer in peace than the beggar who slept under the open sky. I think about these stories often because they remind us of something we forget. Ownership is an illusion. The king learned it through a grain of sand. The merchant learned it through his sleepless nights. And if we're honest, many of us learn it through heartbreak, through loss, through the endless anxiety of holding on too tightly. Let me ask you this. Have you ever worked so hard to get something, maybe a house, a car, a promotion, only to find that once you had it, the fear of losing it started eating at you more than the joy of having it? That's the same trap. We think possession brings freedom, but often it brings chains. Personally, I've felt this too. Years ago, I bought a watch I thought I'd treasure forever. But instead of joy, it brought tension. Every scratch made me wince. Every time I left the house, I worried I might lose it. It was like I didn't own the watch owned me. And I'll never forget the relief I felt the day I let it go. This is the paradox of attachment. The more we clutch, the heavier life feels. The more we release, the lighter our heart becomes. The king had to be humbled by sand. The merchant had to drown in his own fear. But you and I, maybe we don't need to wait until pain teaches us the hard way. Maybe we can wake up now. Here's what I want you to reflect on. What's the grain of sand in your life today? That one small thing that keeps poking at you, reminding you that control is just an illusion. It could be money, a relationship, even your own image in the mirror. What if that discomfort isn't a curse, but a teacher? Drop the letter S in the comments if you've ever felt the sting of your own sand. It'll remind us that sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest lessons. And keep watching, because in the next part, we'll uncover the hidden gift waiting on the other side of letting go. Part 5. Relationships and attachment. Let me ask you something real. Have you ever felt so loved by someone, but at the same time, suffocated by that very love? Maybe it was a parent who tried to control every step you took. Maybe it was a partner who wanted to know where you were, who you were with, every single moment. At first, it feels like care, but slowly, it begins to feel like chains. Here's the hard truth. Love turns heavy when it gets tangled with possession. I remember a young woman who told me about her father. He adored her, but his love was mixed with fear. Fear that she'd make mistakes. Fear she'd choose the wrong path. So, he tried to control everything. What school she went to, who she dated, even what she wore. She said, "It wasn't that I didn't love my dad. I just couldn't breathe." And that's the tragedy. His love, instead of being a shelter, became a prison. And it's not just parents. Think about relationships. A man falls in love with a woman. At first, it's joy, butterflies, endless laughter. But soon, he starts needing to own her time. He checks her phone. He questions every glance at another person. His fear of losing her makes him tighten his grip. And here's the irony. The tighter he holds, the faster love slips away. Why does this happen? Because deep down, we confuse love with possession. We think, if I love you, I must hold you. If I care for you, I must control you. But true love doesn't say, "You are mine." True love whispers, "You are free." I'll be honest, I've been on both sides. There was a time I was the one holding too tightly. I thought closeness meant constant control. But the more I tried to hold on, the more distance grew. The day I learned to let go, to simply love without trying to cage, the relationship healed. It wasn't easy. My mind screamed, "What if I lose them?" But my heart slowly learned, if it's real, it will stay. If not, forcing won't save it. Here's something I want you to picture. A bird perched on your hand. If you clutch your fist, you crush its wings. If you open your palm, it may fly, but it may also choose to stay. Isn't that what love should be? Not about keeping someone locked, but about being the kind of place they want to return to. Now, let me ask you, in your own life, where does love feel like freedom? And where does it feel like a cage? Think about it. Because often, we don't notice when care quietly turns into control. Drop the number 5 in the comments if you've ever seen love become too heavy, either from someone else or from yourself. Trust me, you're not alone. Love only blooms in freedom. It only grows in trust. Anything else is fear, wearing the mask of love. And if we can see that, even just for a moment, we begin to free not only the people we love, but also ourselves. Part 6. Attachment to the ego. Let me ask you something that might sting a little. Have you ever felt like you had to be strong all the time? Like you couldn't afford to fail, couldn't afford to look weak? Because the moment you did, people would stop respecting you? See, attachment doesn't just show up in money or relationships. It shows up right here, in the image we build of ourselves. That image we try so hard to protect. The me that must look perfect, successful, unshakable. I once knew a man named David. From the outside, he had it all: career, family, even the respect of his community. But inside, he was exhausted. Every mistake he made at work, he buried. Every moment of doubt he hid. He said, "If people knew how scared I really am, they wouldn't believe in me anymore." So he carried it alone. His ego became a cage. And that cage was heavier than any burden. And maybe you felt that too. That silent voice whispering, "Don't let them see you cry. Don't let them see you fail. Don't let them know you're human." But here's the truth I've learned. The same truth Buddhist wisdom has whispered for centuries. The moment we cling to an image of who we think we must be, we stop growing into who we truly are. It's like holding a mask so tightly to your face, you forget what your real skin feels like. I'll share something personal. Years ago, I thought being strong meant never asking for help. I told myself, if I show weakness, people will lose faith in me. So I pushed through burnout, pretended I was fine, and wore my smile like armor. But deep inside, I was crumbling. The day I finally admitted, I can't do this alone, something amazing happened. Instead of losing respect, people leaned closer. They said, "We've felt that too. My weakness connected me to others in a way my fake strength never could." So let me ask you, what's heavier, the fear of falling or the weight of pretending you can never fall? Because here's the paradox. The ego tells us that perfection is safety, but in reality, perfection is isolation. The moment we allow ourselves to be imperfect, we actually open the door to growth, to connection, to freedom. Picture this: a tree standing in the storm. If it refuses to bend, it breaks. But if it sways, if it allows itself to be moved, it survives. Strength isn't about being unshakable. It's about knowing when to bend. So maybe the real question is this: what mask are you still wearing? What cage have you built around your own heart by insisting you must always be strong, always be flawless? If you're brave enough, drop the number 6 in the comments. Not just as a number, but as a reminder that you're willing to loosen your grip on the ego, even just a little. Because freedom doesn't come from proving yourself. It comes from letting go of the need to. And when we finally stop clutching at the I we think we have to be, we give ourselves permission to become who we truly are. Part 7. Lesson from nature. Let me share with you a picture I can't get out of my mind. A single bird, wings wide, gliding across an endless sky. No suitcase, no heavy luggage, just the wind beneath its feathers. And somehow, it's completely free. That's the beauty of nature. Every morning, the bird wakes up, not worried about yesterday's mistakes, not anxious about tomorrow's storms. It builds a nest when the season is kind. And when the season shifts, it lets go. It leaves the nest behind without regret, without fear. And here's the lesson nature whispers to us. Now pause for a second. Imagine if we humans could live like that bird. How many times have we clung to things long after their season has passed? A job that drains us, a relationship that suffocates us, an old version of ourselves we're too scared to outgrow. We clutch at these nests, terrified of change, even when life is clearly telling us it's time to move on. I'll be honest with you, I've been there. Years ago, I held onto a career path that looked successful on paper, but inside, I was empty. I told myself, if I walk away, I'll lose everything I worked for. But the truth, what I was losing, was myself. Only when I finally released that old branch did I discover the freedom to fly in a new direction. And maybe you know that feeling too. Maybe there's something in your life right now that you've outgrown, but your hands are still wrapped so tightly around it. So here's the tension. The bird trusts the wind, but we, humans, often don't pond. We tell ourselves, if I let go, I'll fall. If I let go, I'll be nothing. But what if, just like the bird, the moment we release, life actually carries us higher? Think about rivers. They don't cling to one rock, they flow. And because they flow, they reach the ocean. Nature isn't just beautiful, it's a mirror. It shows us again and again that clinging is suffering, but release is wisdom. I want to ask you something personal. What's the old nest in your life? Is it an identity, a fear, a relationship, maybe even a dream you've outgrown? What would happen if, instead of clinging, you trusted the wind? Drop the number 7 in the comments if this hits you not just as a number, but as your way of saying, I'm ready to loosen my grip. I'm ready to trust life a little more. Because freedom isn't about owning more. Freedom is realizing we don't have to carry so much in the first place. So next time you see a bird crossing the sky, let it remind you, you too were born with wings, and you too can fly lighter, if only you're willing to let go. Part 8. Practice letting go. Let me ask you something real quick. How often do you catch yourself gripping your phone so tightly, not just in your hand, but in your mind, checking, scrolling, comparing, reacting? It's almost as if the phone owns you, instead of the other way around. Here's a small practice that changed the way I see life. It's simple. Next time you're holding your phone, or when an emotion suddenly rises, frustration, jealousy, fear, just whisper to yourself, this does not belong to me. At first, it feels strange. The ego fights back. Part of you says, but wait, these are my feelings. This is my problem. This is my life. And yet, when you pause long enough, you start to notice emotions come and go. Objects break, fade, or disappear. Even identities shift. None of it is really ours. This tiny phrase, this does not belong to me, is like slowly loosening your fist after years of clenching. Suddenly, there's air, there's space, there's breath. I remember one afternoon, I was sitting in traffic, feeling the irritation boil up inside. The honking, the waiting, the endless rush of cars. And then I caught myself whispering those words, this does not belong to me. It didn't erase the traffic, but it erased the weight I was carrying. The anger didn't stick. The stress didn't own me anymore. And that's the real power of practice. Letting go isn't just an idea we admire in books or in quotes. It's something we train for, moment by moment. Just like the bird in the sky doesn't carry the branch forever, we too can release, little by little. Now, here's the tension. Our minds want control. We think, if I don't hold on, everything will fall apart. But ask yourself honestly, how many things have you clung to in the past that slipped away anyway? A relationship, a job, even youth itself. Life shows us over and over that nothing is permanent. So why not learn to open our hands before the weight becomes unbearable? The beauty of this practice is that you don't need a temple or hours of meditation. You only need awareness. Holding your phone? Whisper it. Feeling jealous? Whisper it. Arguing with someone you love? Whisper it. Slowly, the whisper becomes a habit, and the habit becomes freedom. So let me turn this question to you. What's one thing in your life right now that you could gently remind yourself, this does not belong to me? Is it stress at work? Is it fear of not being enough? Or maybe it's the constant pull of comparison on social media. Drop the number 8 in the comments if you're willing to try this practice today. Just once. Who knows? That single whisper might be the start of a lighter way of living. Because in the end, letting go isn't about losing. It's about living fully, without chains. It's about opening your heart wide enough to hold life without needing to own it. So the next time your hand closes tight, remember, you always have the choice to open it. And when you do, you might discover the freedom that was waiting there all along. Conclusion. Let me leave you with this thought. Everything we think we own, our house, our money, our achievements, even this very body, is not truly ours. It's borrowed, temporary. Like a guest that comes into our lives, stays for a while, and then leaves when the time is right. At first, that truth can feel heavy. We're taught to cling, to fight, to protect what we believe is mine. And when life takes it away, we break. But here's the paradox. The moment we see impermanence clearly, the weight starts to fall off our shoulders. I'll give you a simple picture. Imagine you're holding a handful of sand. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. But when you hold it with an open palm, it rests there quietly. No struggle, no loss, just presence. That's what letting go feels like. It's not giving up on life. It's living it with a lighter touch. I've seen this in my own life. Years ago, I was chasing recognition, chasing that moment when someone else would finally say, "You've made it." But the more I grasped for it, the emptier I felt. It wasn't until I stopped clenching so hard, until I realized none of it could ever truly belong to me, that I began to taste something far sweeter: freedom. And freedom changes the way you love. Because when you're not desperate to hold on, you can finally see people as they are, not as possessions. You can enjoy a sunset without needing to capture it. You can listen to someone's laughter without fearing the day it fades. Love becomes deeper, more present, more real. Maybe this is the treasure we're all searching for. Not another possession, not another title, but the quiet peace of an open hand, a heart that doesn't have to grasp. So, here's my question for you. When you look at your own life, what's one thing you've been holding on to too tightly? And what might shift if, even for a moment, you let your hand open? If someone comes to mind while you're listening, a friend, a parent, maybe even a child, someone who could use this reminder today, share this video with them. Sometimes a few words are all it takes to ease a heavy heart. And if this message resonated with you, drop a simple word in the comments. Freedom. One word. Because that's what we're all moving toward, whether we realize it or not. Life is always reminding us, nothing truly belongs to us. But instead of despair, that truth can become a doorway. A doorway into a lighter way of living. Into love, without fear. Into a joy that doesn't depend on clinging. So as we close this chapter, remember, letting go doesn't mean losing life. It means finally having the space to live it fully, deeply, with open hands. And maybe, just maybe, that's where peace has been waiting for us all along.